Before you step into this heartbreaking yet miraculous story, ask yourself, what would you do if the entire world laughed at you for being poor, for wearing the same old dress again and again, only for fate to twist in the most shocking way when the richest man in the city noticed you? This is not just a story, it's an emotional roller coaster, filled with betrayal, humiliation, mystery, and an ending you'll never see coming. Stay with me till the very last word, because the twist will leave you breathless. And before we begin, make sure you hit subscribe to Shock Story and turn on the bell icon, because here we bring you the most dramatic, heart-stopping, life-changing stories that you won't find anywhere else. Now, let's dive in. Story. There was once a little girl named Alara who lived in a small, crumbling house at the edge of a glittering city. A city where skyscrapers touched the clouds and luxury cars sped down streets she could only dream of walking upon. Yet every morning she would rise before dawn to polish her single pair of worn shoes and neatly fold the only dress she owned. A faded blue cotton piece that had belonged to her late mother, patched over and over, threadbare but precious, for it was the last memory she had of the woman who had sung her lullabies under a leaking roof. Alara's father worked double shifts at a factory, barely earning enough for bread, while her classmates at the prestigious academy she attended through a charity scholarship mocked her relentlessly, whispering cruel things about how she smelled of old books, how her hair was never styled like theirs, and how her dress was an embarrassment in a hall filled with silks and satins. And it all came to a climax on the night of the annual winter ball, when the grand chandelier cast diamond-like sparks over the polished marble floor, and every girl twirled in shimmering gowns while Alara walked in with trembling steps in that same patched dress, clutching the edges as laughter rippled across the hall, her heart pounding louder than the violins playing. For she had prayed all week for a miracle, yet all she met were sneers, until one of the richest and most arrogant girls, Cassandra, daughter of a hotel magnate, deliberately spilled a glass of crimson punch on her dress and sneered, "Maybe this will make it look newer," sending the crowd into peals of cruel laughter that stabbed Alara's soul, and tears burned her eyes as she turned to flee, wishing she could melt into the floor. But just then, silence fell like a curtain for the tall, commanding figure of Adrian Blackthorne, the city's youngest millionaire CEO, stepped onto the stage. He was a man of mystery, known for building an empire out of nothing after his parents' tragic death. And though women in dazzling gowns flocked around him, he ignored them all, his piercing gray eyes sweeping the room until they landed on Alara, who stood frozen by the exit, cheeks wet, hands trembling, and in a voice that carried like thunder, he said, "Why is she leaving? The ball hasn't even begun." Then walked directly to her, the crowd parting in stunned silence, and to everyone's shock, he extended his hand toward the humiliated little girl and asked softly yet firmly, "May I have this dance?" Gasps filled the air. Whispers turned into disbelief. Cassandra's smirk vanished, and Alara's world tilted, for she couldn't understand why the most powerful man in the room wanted to dance with a nobody in a ruined dress. But before she could refuse, Adrian gently took her hand and led her to the center of the floor. And as the orchestra resumed, he guided her through the steps with elegance, his presence shielding her from the stairs, while he whispered, "Hold your head high, Alara. They are not worth your tears." And she realized with shock that he not only knew her name, but spoke it with a warmth she had never heard before. Yet beneath the beauty of the moment, something darker stirred, for Adrian's interest was not random. He had recognized her eyes, the same eyes he had once seen in the photograph of a woman who had saved him as a boy. The nurse who had pulled him from the wreckage of his parents' fatal car crash years ago. And that woman had been Alara's mother, though the girl herself had no idea of this hidden bond. As the dance ended, applause erupted, hesitant at first, then thunderous. Though much of it was driven by fear of Adrian's power, and Alara, overwhelmed, tried to slip away, but Adrian stopped her and declared publicly, "Tonight, the most beautiful soul here is not dressed in jewels, but in courage," stunning the audience, while Cassandra's face twisted with rage, her humiliation fueling a silent vow to destroy Alara. From that night, Alara's life began to change in ways she never imagined. For Adrian invited her and her father to visit his company, promising educational sponsorship and protection. Yet shadows lurked. Cassandra, driven by envy, spread rumors, accusing Alara of scheming to trap the CEO for wealth. And soon the girl found herself cornered, isolated, her scholarship threatened. Until one evening she returned home to find their house ransacked, her father injured by men who left a cryptic warning tied to Adrian's name. Trembling, she carried her father to the hospital where Adrian himself appeared, fury blazing in his eyes. For he realized his enemies were using Alara as a pawn, and with grim resolve he vowed to uncover the truth. In the days that followed, mysteries unraveled. Documents revealed that Alara's father once worked in the same factory Adrian's father had owned, and he had been fired unjustly after uncovering corruption, a chain of events that had doomed Alara's family to poverty, while the same corrupt men now sat on Adrian's board of directors. Suddenly everything connected. Adrian's empire, Alara's suffering, Cassandra's manipulations, and a decades-old betrayal. When Adrian confronted the board, he was met with lies and threats, and it became clear that exposing them would risk everything. Yet he pressed forward, determined to right the wrongs that had scarred both their families. But Cassandra, desperate, made her final move at the next gala, where she publicly accused Alara of stealing a diamond necklace, planting evidence to ruin her. Alara stood accused, the crowd jeering once more, history repeating itself, until Adrian stormed in with proof, security footage showing Cassandra's crime, and with a single command, he dismantled her father's empire, leaving Cassandra to crumble in disgrace. Yet amidst the chaos, Adrian revealed the ultimate twist, telling the world that Alara's mother had once saved his life, and that he owed everything to her sacrifice, declaring Alara not only innocent, but precious. And then, in front of everyone, he turned to her once more, knelt on one knee and said, "Alara, from the day you walked into that ballroom, I knew fate had brought you to me. Not because of wealth or pity, but because you are the light I had been searching for all my life. Will you walk beside me, not as the girl in the old dress, but as the woman who taught me the true meaning of strength?" Tears streamed down Alara's face as the hall erupted in applause, her father watching with pride. And though she was still young, she understood this was not just a proposal of love, but of destiny, a promise to rise above pain together. And as Adrian pulled her into an embrace, the chandelier's light seemed to glow brighter, as if blessing their union, while the whispers that once mocked her dress now turned into songs of admiration, proving that sometimes humiliation is only the first step toward unimaginable miracles, and that the poorest girl in the room could hold the heart of the richest man, not through gold or beauty, but through the unshakable power of courage, kindness, and fate's mysterious hand guiding two broken souls into one unbreakable story.